people, if they can't get to Wikipedia for like 5 seconds because the internet sucks, they freak out and they're afraid they've lost Wikipedia in China. So the current situation in China, we were completely banned for 3 years. And just before the Olympics, the Chinese government unblocked Wikipedia and a bunch of other websites, including the BBC, for example. And we're still open. While we were open, I went to China and I met with the minister of the State Council Information Office to open a dialogue. I was very happy to be able to go there at a time when I didn't have to go and say, please unblock Wikipedia. Instead, I said, we are really happy that some of the access problems have been resolved. Then he came and visited us at the Wikimedia Foundation. We have a dialogue. We have requested if they have a problem with something in Wikipedia, they should please contact us first so we can talk to the community. Because sometimes they might have a problem about something that of course we would agree with. You know, if somebody's written a very one-sided biased entry and they're angry about it, well, we could say, well, this is Wikipedia. We also don't like one-sided biased entries, so please don't just block us because you saw something crazy in Wikipedia. Let us know first. But we won't compromise on our mission. We won't compromise on neutrality. We won't compromise on open access. So fundamentally, there is a potential that we'll be blocked again in China. In the past, we were blocked twice before. We had our long 3-year block. Twice before, we were blocked around the Tiananmen Square incident. I think if we someday are blocked on that day, I'm not going to panic right away because every year they do this sort of, they lock things down for a few days and then they open back up. And I'm not sure why they do that because it's not like nobody thinks to look this up except for that day. But I think they're sending a sign to people that, you know, please don't talk about this too much. So, but so far, right now we're open in China, and I'm going to try very hard to keep us open in China. But this is subject to our fundamental belief that access to knowledge is a fundamental human right, and we won't compromise on that. Considering that Google and Yahoo and Microsoft and basically all the people on the list of the top websites, except for us, has compromised. I don't know about Facebook actually. I think they haven't gotten to China yet, but given that everybody else is compromised, I think it's really important that we not compromise. It's really important to say, look, Wikipedia is a charity. We're about neutrality. We're about high-quality information. We're not a haven for dissidents or anything like this. We're an encyclopedia, and this is a fundamental human right, and we won't back down on it. So, well, we'll see what happens.
I have a question about starting a project. When you started Wikipedia, how did you manage to make it famous and worldwide? Did you get some kind of advertising? Which was your target group in the beginning?
We never had any advertising. We never, paid to get advertising. We didn't really have any money for that. I guess our target audience was geeky people who like to write. So that's who I am, and that's who we are as a group. And so finding each other, I think we were all kind of looking for each other anyway. In the early days, we got a lot of press coverage from the tech press, and in particular the open source press. So Slashdot is a big technology website that's very, very popular in the open source community, and they would write stories about us and link to us and send us tons of traffic. And within that community, because these are people who are working with these ideas of sharing, they understand how it works. They were excited about the idea of having an encyclopedia built the same way, so we got a lot of people from that area. And I also think we just filled an open need at the time. People were on the internet trying to find information, and everything was just kind of random and so forth, and people just wanted nice summaries of what the facts are. So it just grew and grew and grew, really from the very beginning.
There is no microphone on the balcony.
Hello, my name is Martin. I want to ask two things. I'm interested, do you have a big pressure for some governments about some topic topics that they think are secret or something like this. And the second question is, do you have big problems with content that is connected with copyrights or author rights?
Okay, thank you. So the first question is, do we have pressure from governments about things that they consider to be secret? And basically, no, that really has never come up. I think it's because most of the stuff that's supposed to be secret is actually secret. So, there is one small story. There was one time when there was someone had published some information about the formula for the amount of dynamite set off underwater required to pierce the hull of a ship. And it was a nice little article, and it had a reference, and the reference was to a U.S. military website. It was a publicly accessible document, and we got a phone call, a very panicked phone call from them, and they said, "Oh, we don't really know what to do. We're not trying to censor you or anything, but we're just concerned that this information is there." And we said, "Well, you put it on your own website." And they said, "Oh, here." And they said, "Well, what can we do? It's already in Wikipedia." And we said, "Well, why don't you just take it off your website? Then there won't be a reference. And we don't like things with no references, and it just goes away." And that's what happened. Things like that are very, very rare. I think there's just not that much information out there that's kind of problem. The other question was something about we have problems with copyright. Okay, yes, yeah. So in general, this is one of the ongoing things. There are always people who don't understand Wikipedia. They want to help out. They think the way to help out is just to copy and paste something into Wikipedia from somewhere else, or they don't know about copyright. The community does not like this. Obviously, we spend a lot of time policing for this and doing Google searches to find out if something's a copyright violation. Normally, it's pretty easy to tell. If somebody shows up and suddenly we've never seen them before, and suddenly they post in 8 paragraphs of perfectly written material that sounds like a press biography, probably it's a copyright violation, or a PR person who works for that thing. So we can detect it usually fairly easily. In terms of really major problems, the one story that I know of was in German Wikipedia. They had someone who had gone really undetected and was putting in a bunch of entries about fairly obscure philosophical terms, really well-written stuff. And we found out later, because a Wikipedian happened to find a book in the library and was reading and said, "Hey, I read this before somewhere." They checked and they found that this guy had entered in a couple thousand entries, and he copied from an old East German encyclopedia. And apparently he thought that since East Germany didn't exist anymore, that the copyright didn't exist anymore, and it was okay. Turns out when they merged it, all the copyrights passed through, and somebody owned the copyright. And so the community was very unhappy, and one night, really within 12 hours of this trusted administrator calling attention to the problem, they had a very brief discussion, and then they destroyed the philosophy section of German Wikipedia and had to rebuild it, and they were very upset. I think one of the keys about the Wikipedia community is it's not just about following the law. We have to follow the law. We agree with following the law, but there's something a little bit deeper. We're very, very proud that we made it ourselves. That's an important value for us. No one, whatever complaint people may have about Wikipedia, nobody's going to say, big deal, you just copied it out of the other encyclopedia. This is not true. We made it ourselves, and that's something everyone should be proud of. Okay.